last week we had a class which was more of a comedy routine. Lochini, you have such a nice name. One who has many lotus eyes. Right? What does Lochini mean? One with lotus eyes. So we had a class which may have ruined my reputation as a bona fide guru. So I have to make it up by being serious. And I don't know if that's possible, but we're going to try. Okay? So, to sum up the class about the men's duties, last week Prabhupada said that their duty is to give protection, even if it causes suffering, and it gave the example of Lord Ramachandra, who had to undergo so much suffering to protect his wife. And then we told the famous joke, because Lord Ram, in a sense, was risking his life to save his wife, because he had to hire an army and he had to rescue her. So the husband tells the wife, I love you so much, I would die for you. Right? You say that to your wife? As soon as you wake her up in the morning, that's what you tell her. And the wife said, husband says, I love you so much I would die for you. And the wife says, Dad, you always say that, but you never do it. So, it's just a bunch of words if you tell your wife. You have to show it. So, that was the basic idea, that the position of the husband is to provide for the wife, take care of her, even if there'll be a cause, even if it's difficult. So we're going to continue reading. And we're reading and we're commenting. And all the women are thinking, I wish my husbands were here listening to this. And all the husbands that don't need to hear it are listening, and all the ones that need to hear it aren't listening. Right? Isn't that how it works? Sometimes. So, this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 26th chapter, text number 6. People have become so degraded in this age that on the one hand they restrict polygamy, and on the other hand they hunt for women in so many ways. Interesting. Many business concerns publicly advertise that topless girls are available in this club or that shop. Thus women have become instruments of sense enjoyment in modern society. The Vedas enjoin, however, that if a man has the propensity to enjoy more than one wife, we're getting into trouble here. As it is sometimes the propensity for men in the higher social order, such as Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, even sometimes the Shudras, he is allowed to marry more than one wife. What do you think of that, ladies? You approve? We have a live audience here. They didn't approve of that. Then the other one is saying, well, it depends how much money he has. Right. No. But then it would be talking about your wife, your husband. Marriage means taking complete charge of a woman and living peacefully without debauchery. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Marriage means taking complete charge of a woman and living peacefully without debauchery. At the present moment, however, debauchery is unrestricted. Nonetheless, society makes a law that one should not marry more than one wife. This is typical of a demoniac society. In other words, they're saying a man has a wife and a girlfriend, but the society won't let him marry the girlfriend. Anyway, we don't want to talk about polygamy. Do we? Anyone want to talk about polygamy? Yeah, so Balabi said, I'll marry him, get his money, and then I'll leave him with the other wives. Good plan. So this is from the Manu Samhita. In that family where the husband is pleased with his wife and the wife with her husband, happiness will assuredly be lasting. In that family where the husband is pleased with his wife and the wife with her husband, happiness will assuredly be lasting. So, this is interesting because now you're all thinking, well, my wife just has to act in a certain way and then I'll be pleased with her. Right? Or my husband has to act in a certain way and I'll be pleased. You're probably not thinking, I should just be pleased with the way they act. Right? Right, I caught you, I know what you're thinking. Right? So that's another thing. This devotee wrote me today. Where is he? Jeremy, he'll come later. Maybe. He's busy. Jeremy wrote me. Not this devotee. Jeremy wrote me. And he said once in college he'd had to take a class on marriage or something that dealt with marriage. And it said that the woman is looking for Mr. Right and the man is looking for Mrs. Right. But rather than look for Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, you should be Mr. Right or Mrs. Right. Right? So, am I right or right? Right. So I often tell devotees who are looking for a spiritual master, I said, it's nice you're looking, but what about you as the disciple? Don't focus too much on finding the right guru, but focus on being the right disciple. So same idea. So I think we should understand this statement. If that family where the husband is pleased with his wife and the wife with her husband, happiness will surely be lasting in that family. That we should take that as, I should be pleased. We've talked about this before. Everyone has their nature, so you accept that. Be pleased. Now, here's a wonderful statement by Gaurkishore Das Babaji. This is really good for the men. Do not consider your wife as one meant for your service. Instead, respect her as a servitor of Krishna. So now you're taking service from your wife, but her service is meant for Krishna. So you have to be careful. Don't prevent her from serving Krishna by serving you. Of course, serving you is part of her service to Krishna, but you see her as not yours, but Krishna's. It's nice, right? Haribol. Dharani Gurunishna Vallabhi Carolina Palak Panir, straight from Israel, just down the street, Lochani, Brajasundari. And Timothy. Is somebody monitoring the chat on Krishna.com? Because I'm not. My computer is allergic to Krishna.com right now. Okay. So, be satisfied with your husband, be satisfied with your wife. Do not consider your wife as one meant for your service. Instead, respect her as a servitor of Krishna. And now we're going to read something from the author of this book, Jagannath Ishwari. She writes, men are generally endowed with more intelligence than women. For example, in the fields of philosophy, science, technology, engineering, business, politics, etc., as well as superior strength, determination, decisiveness, detachment, and capacity for austerity. It's a good thing a woman wrote this, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there'd be a protest march. There are also other good qualities that tend to abound in women more than men, such as intuition, empathy, patience, adaptability, submissiveness, and devotion. When male qualities and female qualities are combined together in a cooperative partnership, there is great opportunity for spiritual advancement. The Yajnik Brahmins of Vrindavan were too busy with their fire sacrifice to feed Krishna and Balaram. The Yajnik Brahmins who were too busy with their fire sacrifice to feed Krishna and Balaram learned a profound lesson from their wives who left everything to serve Krishna. So, we've had some discussions about this, but this whole idea of intelligence, It's very much misunderstood. What is intelligence? What is the definition that Prabhupada gives of intelligence? Well, one of the most important definitions is that a person who's intelligent surrenders to Krishna, accepts Krishna. That's an intelligent person. And if you look through Prabhupada's books for the word less intelligent, what comes up is someone who doesn't surrender to Krishna. That's what comes up. If you look for every time Prabhupada says less intelligent, 99% of the time, or 99.9, it'll be someone who doesn't surrender to Krishna is less intelligent. It won't be woman. It won't say less intelligent. Oh, Prabhupada must be talking about women. No, he's talking about people who don't surrender to Krishna. Right? So there's many less intelligent men on the planet, and there's many more intelligent women. Right? So this is what Prabhupada says about, but there's also a problem with being too intelligent. And the example is these Brahmins. They were so smart, they didn't surrender to Krishna. Right? So you become so intelligent, you become a fool. Right? Go to the university, find some of the most intelligent fools anywhere on the planet, in the academic world. Right? That's where the intelligent fools hang out, don't they? Very, amazingly intelligent people who don't believe in God. So Prabhupada's saying that the women have this advantage that they're naturally more submissive. So they're more faithful. So in that sense, then it becomes they're more intelligent because they accept Krishna. So let's read what Prabhupada says. Women in general, being very simple at heart, can very easily take to Krishna consciousness. And when they develop love of Krishna, they can easily get liberation from the clutches of Maya, which are very difficult for even so-called intelligent and learned men to surpass. They can get what the so-called intelligent men can't. That's the problem with being intelligent. Has an echo. What about now? The line is breaking off and all of you. Has an echo. Fine for me. Try to refresh. Okay. It's fine here. Okay. Technical problems. According to Vedic, the Brahmins continued. According to Vedic injunction, women are not allowed to undergo the purificatory process of initiation by the sacred thread, nor are they allowed to live as brahmacharinis in the ashram of the spiritual master, both things which we do in ISKCON. Nor are they advised to undergo the strict disciplinary procedures, nor are they very expert in discussing the philosophy of self-realization. But so many women are preaching. And by nature they are not very pure, nor are they very much attached to auspicious activities. Therefore, how wonderful it is that those women have developed transcendental love for Krishna, the Lord of all mystic yogis. They have surpassed all of us in firm faith and devotion to Krishna. So who's more intelligent? The Brahmins who know all the Shastra, or the women who fed Krishna? Yeah, so you have to redefine intelligence. So what's the use of all your intelligence if it takes you away from Krishna? Okay. Now we're going to read about Kardama Muni. It's from the 3rd canto, 21st chapter, text 15. Kardama Muni wanted to have a wife of like disposition, because a wife is necessary to assist in spiritual and material advancement. It is said that a wife yields the fulfillment of all desires in religion, economic development, and sense gratification. If one has a nice wife, he is to be considered a most fortunate man. Ladies, do you tell your husband every day how fortunate they are to have such a nice wife? You can just copy this. It's from the 3rd canto, 21st chapter, 15th verse, 3:21:15. You can go there, get this, and send your husband an email reminder how fortunate you are. I always tell my wife how fortunate she is. that she married me. I tell her that all the time. So you realize how lucky you are? You could have married anybody, but you married me. And then they say, is it true women are not as intelligent as men? I say, no, my wife's very intelligent. She married me. So she's smart enough to know how qualified I am. So she must be very intelligent. Right? So this is what the women are going to... Well, I'm just shifting it around. You know, if the women can do it, why can't we? If one has a nice wife, he is to be considered a most fortunate man. In astrology, a man is considered fortunate who has great wealth, very good sons, or a very good wife. Of these three, one who has a good wife is considered the most fortunate. All right, so ladies, make sure your husbands know that they're fortunate, because they don't always remember that. They don't always consider that. Yes? Okay, here's a nice meditation, right? What we know is that when you're with somebody, I think I was talking about this, maybe I was talking about this in another class, maybe it wasn't with you on Krishna.com, but you tend to appreciate something which is done once. Like I come over, I'm here at the house of Rakefet and Asaf, and they've given me prasadam, and I want to thank them for the very nice prasadam. Thank you for this nice, it was so nice. Oh, and Amira and Mike, they helped, and so I'm thanking them. Thank you so much for the prasadam. But my wife makes prasadam every day, and I don't thank her every day. So, who is more appreciable, the one who makes it every day or the one who makes it once every year and a half? Yeah. The one who makes it every day. And the one who makes it every day doesn't get the appreciation, but the one who makes it once. Thank you for having me, it's so nice. So in this example, the person who gave this example, he said, think about your heart. Do you appreciate your heart? It's working for you constantly. He said, nobody appreciates their heart. Nobody. You don't wake up every morning and say, thank you, heart, for beating. You did a great job yesterday. Keep up the good work. Nobody thinks like that. So there's that tendency to take it for granted, right? Because it's... And you take it for granted because what? Well, you expect your heart to work. If your heart doesn't work, you get upset. So you expect your husband or wife to do certain things. So you take it for granted, you don't appreciate it. So... Prabhupada's saying here, using Kardama, who had such a nice wife, that the men should appreciate their wives. So all men right now, go to your wife and tell her how much you appreciate her. And don't come back to the class till you tell her. Some of the women are out saying that, I don't appreciate my husband. I'm not going to tell him that. I appreciate you, but the other day, now men, you have to know something. You have to know more than one thing, but you have to know this. Women like to be appreciated. Yes? Yes. Yes. That's very important. Very important. Say, no, but I do so many things she should appreciate. No, but you have to tell her also. But I just bought her something. No, but you have to tell her. Right? Am I right? They say yes. When they make nice prasadam, then you say, thank you, it was really nice. I really like it. Right? You do that? They like to hear that, right? Otherwise, what's the impetus? What's the impetus to keep cooking if they don't know you like it, right? Yes? I think so. Then when they dress up, you're supposed to say, you look really nice. Right? You know the joke, the lady puts on the jeans and he said, do I look fat in these jeans? He said, it's not the jeans that make you look fat. Something like that. It's nothing to do with the jeans, honey. Don't say that, men. Now the men are listening to this and thinking, I just came to Krishna consciousness, just to be a devotee. I didn't want to do all this stuff, this is like, this is like, what does this have to do with Krishna consciousness? Right? What does this have to, But anyway, it's part of the program. Krishna, Krishna, cutting off. Bad connection in Adelaide. Sorry. A wife is addressed, this is from a lecture. A wife is addressed as Devi, not by her name. Did you know that?
Yes.
The husband should address his wife as Devi. They must be like Devi. I call you Devi, I'm just waiting for you to be like Devi. Devi means goddess, and the wife must address the husband as Lord. This is the system. So, in Indian culture, when you respect somebody, you don't call them by their name. They have another name. That's why the culture is we don't call our guru by his name, but we say my spiritual master. Then we might say his name, or my Guru Maharaj. Like that. Because it's considered respectful not to say, disrespectful to say the name. So it's saying here, you call your wife Devi and she calls him Pati. That's respectful. Or Prabhu. And if you know the culture, when you go to someone's house, then you say, if you want to speak to the husband, you say, can I speak to your Prabhu? And she says, I will get my Prabhu for you. So that's the culture. So, but what's nice here, with the point that I see that's coming up is the reason the husband would call the wife Devi or goddess is out of respect. So all the big tough men, I'm not going to respect my wife. What are you talking about? I'm the big tough guy. I'm supposed to do that. She's supposed to respect me. But what you understand in Krishna consciousness is that the strength of a man is that he can respect. The strength of anybody is that they can show respect. It's not strength to be respected. To be tough so you're respected is not strength, right? But that you can be a big tough guy and respect your wife, your children, and other people. That means you're very advanced and you're very strong, right? We get it the other way around. We've talked about this before. It's a very good point. Carolina, I cannot hear you. Now I can. Wow. Internet connections. Trouble. But anyway, if it gets bad, let me know and then we'll knock off the video. So, henceforward, from this day on, all men will call their wives Devi, and all wives will call their husbands Prabhu or Pati. The problem that we have in the Hare Krishna movement is we call one another Prabhu, but we don't know what Prabhu means. So sometimes we get mad at someone and we call them Prabhu, and then we yell at them. But Prabhu means master. So that's the language, problem. We don't know what we're saying. Prabhu, don't speak to me that way. Who do you think you're talking to? Prabhu. There's this funny commercial, and it was never released. It was a banned commercial. Hare Krishna. Now I can hear you. Good. So there was a commercial for a water, a certain brand of water, and they're advertising how when you drink this water you get clarity. So there's a man riding on a horse. In fact, what we would call a mounted police. You have that in your country? Like policemen who ride on horses. And sometimes you have them in America, you have them in like national forests or something to get around. I actually have the video on my computer. If you're nice to me, I might show you someday. I don't know if I could broadcast it to you. You're all nice to me, so I have to show it to you someday. So anyway, he hears a woman yelling, "Help, help!" And he goes over, and there's this woman. She's on the side of a mountain. There's a branch coming off the side of a mountain that drops hundreds and hundreds of feet, and she's holding on. Help, help, help. So he looks down and sees her. And she's like, totally helpless and totally beautiful. And she's like, you're the only one who can save me. So he needs rope. He needs a rope to get her, to save her. So he goes back to his horse to get the rope. And then he takes a drink of the water before he goes for the rope. And the water is supposed to give you clarity. So then he goes into this vision that if I save her, I'll be married to her. So then you see the next scene that he's sitting in it's actually a trailer. It's not really a home, it's a trailer. And the mother-in-law's there with curlers in her hair, walking around, and he's holding a baby, feeding it. And the wife's pregnant also, again with the second one, and he's looking really depressed. That's the vision he got, right, from drinking the water. If he saves this woman, that's what's going to happen. So after he drinks the water, he stops for a moment, and he gets on his horse, and he drives off and leaves the woman there. Right? So it was a bad commercial because it's not politically correct. But we understand the principle, and so the Bhagavatam sometimes talks about these things. And then the man gets married, and then he gets experience of it. He didn't really believe what the Bhagavatam said it was going to be like that. So sometimes he gets experience of the reality, and then he laments, or he reconsiders, did I make a mistake, or this is difficult. And so what Prabhupada's saying here in this chapter, and we're going to read more, he said that even if the husband suffers, but he continues with his duty, he doesn't think, why did I do this? It was a mistake. But he thinks, no, this is my duty. This is what has to be done. If you think, why did I do it? It was a mistake, or your brahmachari godbrothers make fun of you. Look at you used to be happy brahmachari, out on the street distributing books. Now look at you. Can't think that way. You just think this is the ashram, and this is what's required within the ashram, and then you do it. Then you're fine. That's what Prabhupada's saying. He's going to say more of that here. Okay. Listen to this one, women. I think you should make a t-shirt out of this one. And wear it 24 hours a day. Women, this is from Manu Samhita, women must be honored and adored by their fathers, brothers, husbands, and brothers-in-law who desire their own welfare. That means the man who desires his welfare should honor the women. You like that one? Amira really likes that one. That's the best one that's about the best thing she's heard in her entire life. But this is important, because when the man's going through this difficulty, then he's thinking, oh, this is so hard. But women should be honored. And there's a tendency to, yes. Okay, I'll read that again so all you women can write it down and you can deliver this message to your husband. Women must be honored and adored by their fathers, brothers, husbands, and brothers and brothers-in-law who desire their own welfare. So if you want your own welfare, gentlemen, you have to honor women. I think our society, the Hare Krishna movement, has a little further to go in terms of honoring women. They're not quite there yet. What do you think, ladies? Do we have to go a little further? Husbands need to go a little further? I think so. Yeah. Women. Woman, in different cultures, woman has a different connotation. In some cultures, lady is a respectable way of dressing a woman. And in some cultures, woman is respectable. And so, woman may be derogatory in some cultures. So somebody here is saying, calling us women. No, but we're reading. That's the Manasamhita, women. Okay. This is from a lecture by Prabhupada. No. A man is allowed if he is able to marry more than one wife. To have more than one wife does not mean sense enjoyment. The wife must be maintained very respectfully. She must have a good house, good ornaments, good food, good servants, and good children. Then one can marry, but not simply for sense gratification. So men get married and they think, my wife's so demanding. She wants nice children, nice food, nice ornaments, nice this and that. But Prabhupada's saying, no, but what Prabhupada's saying is this is just normal. It's natural. Yes, ladies, we'll call you ladies. We're going to retranslate every woman, when we read women, we'll translate it as ladies, because in some cultures that's more respectful. So you want to hear something funny? I was in a class and Prabhupada made this point. He said, for a woman to be happy, she needs nice food, nice house, nice ornaments, nice children, nice clothes. So he said, and Prabhupada said, you give her these things and you'll be happy. He said, but if you, in the attempt to provide her all these things, you go to hell. Because it's so much work to provide it all. So Prabhupada was joking, of course. But that's the point I'm making, you know. It's like you get married, and that's part of what you have to do. So you can't complain about it, it's just what you do. That's what it is, right? So, credit card, yeah, just give your wife your credit card and go to work. Tell her, it's all yours, honey. Not exactly, that's not good financial planning, but you understand the principle. So, men have to understand these things. So many men resist this. They don't. You see, the whole problem is we resist the nature, or the same thing. Women may resist the nature of men. And why are men have to be like this? Why are men like that? You know? Why are women like this? Well, because that's just how they are. And so when you accept that that's how they are, everything's like there's no problem. You know. Go to the mall. 80% of the shops in malls are women. It's jewelry, it's shoes, handbags, and clothes, and cosmetics, and nails and hair. At least in America. Then you may have some shops for kids and a few for men, but it's mostly women. Why? You think, oh, my wife, she shops all the time. Yeah. So does everyone else's wife. She's not unique. That's just their nature. They like to have nice things. So when you accept that they like nice things, then you're fine. It doesn't drive you crazy. Just because most men think their wives are unique. No, it's just they're not. So once they accept it, they're fine. And any intelligent man, he accepts it. He doesn't fight it. That's what you have nice curtains here, right, in your house, right? So next time I come, you'll have new curtains. And say, what happened to the old curtains? So my wife got tired of them. She bought new ones. Where are the old ones? They're there with the last 6 years of curtains up in the attic, right? And the man's thinking, I'm working, making all this money. The other curtains were fine. Right? Right. Yeah. How do I know these things? Yeah. We built a new house, right? So you built the house. When you build the house, you get it painted any way you want by the builder. So we had it painted, and then we moved in, and then I went away traveling, and I came back, and the whole house, all the colors had changed. I didn't like those colors. Spend another $1,000 repainting it. So what can you do? So men and women are different, right? the man, he said, look, why'd you buy the curtain? I could have bought a better this or that, something electronic or a better car, right? So but anyway, it's just difference. Yes, 18 wives. Wow. Krishna's most exalted father, Sri Vasudeva, had 18 wives. He was a very wealthy Kshatriya and was physically very powerful. He would give each of his wives a royal dwelling and plenty of children to keep them occupied. Yeah. So, gentlemen, if you could maintain many wives, we heard that in one country somewhere it was illegal to have more than one wife, but you can have more than one if you marry her outside the country and bring her back in. Just in case you're considering. There are countries you can move to and do it. So here's the most telling thing that I think that we should understand, and I've talked about this before, but I don't think we can talk about it enough. To be a servant. To be a servant. So now the husband, this big powerful man, is running a huge company, has thousands of workers, everyone's bowing to his feet, and he has to come home and wash the dishes. That doesn't work with his ego. Doesn't work well with his ego, right? And he has to do the laundry. But if another woman comes over to the house and asks, where's your husband? And you tell them he's doing the laundry, they'll think that's fantastic. They'll think, wow, that's so nice. Right? Yes? Yeah, they'll think that's so nice. The guy will think, oh my God, he's completely controlled by his wife. He's doing the laundry. She should be doing the laundry. Right? The difference, male, female, right? And the guy who's thinking that is a devotee. And a devotee means what? I'm servant. But he won't think service goes as far as doing the laundry. I'm servant, that's my constitutional position. But laundry and dishes, I don't know. That may not go to cleaning, you're taking out the trash, cleaning the bathroom. That may be too far for being a servant. So there's where you get the contradiction. I'm the humble servant, but then but it has to translate or incorporate or expand into different areas. So a man shouldn't think, if he has to do some menial service, that I shouldn't do it because I'm the man, and the man is the controller and strong. But you should think, no, it's sometimes part of the program. I mean, a wife may say, I don't want you to do it. That's okay. But if she needs him to do it, then it's part of the program. It's not like, well, I'm the man, so I don't do it. You shouldn't think that way. But we do, don't we?
Actually, it's a nice meditation to do the laundry or dishes.
Yeah, humble servant. Cleaning the toilets, even higher highest realizations, man, you can get is cleaning the toilet. Because, we all say we're lower than a worm and stool, and then you can actually practice that. You can get a realization. So should an advanced devotee not want to clean? No, he should be willing if he has to. It's just whatever has to be done. He'll do it. Now, this will not sit right in the brains of men, certain men. And I don't mean to violate your cultural norms, because perhaps in your culture you would be considered the laughing stock of the whole neighborhood if you actually did wash the dishes or clean the bathroom. But I'm speaking of a principle here, that in principle we should be willing to do it, because we're whatever service is necessary, and we do it, and we see house of life as part of our service. Not that your wife would make you, or not that she wouldn't. She may feel that you shouldn't have to do it, but you should be in the mood that if it's necessary, you'll do it. Wow. That would change the landscape a bit, wouldn't it? I just read a story about CEO of a big company, and he used to clean the bathrooms in the company. Yeah. It was kind of setting that mood of service. And in the beginning of the movement, before the devotees understood exactly who Prabhupada was making prasadam, and he was serving it. And then he was cleaning. Everybody left. They took prasadam and they left. They left Prabhupada alone. And then there he was left to clean the plates, clean the room, and clean the kitchen. And he never complained, and he never told them, maybe you should consider helping. They asked him, and then he gave them the service. So that's humble. Prabhupada first came to America. He was in the bathroom washing his dhoti. You know that? Because that's, the sadhu, he's just a sadhu, and that's what he never had any servants. He took care of himself in Vrindavan, and he came to America, and he was just staying at this guest house, and he was cooking for himself and taking care of himself, washing his clothes, and he wasn't complaining. Yeah, so then Brajasundar is saying, you have, let's see what they're saying. I just had a call from a friend whose sister came back from home with 3 children. Husband is good at temple, Brahman initiation, does deity worship. At home he swears and tortures his wife with abusive words and whacks her. Please comment on this. You want me to comment on it? Call the police, have him arrested. He asked her to go back to her father's house. Many are pretending in front and at the back in the house. He is not good household. Yeah. Here's the thing. We were just talking today at lunch. Yeah. Well, let's finish reading. Brajasundar says, I think an advanced devotee will not see himself as advanced devotee. And Vallabhi, I have seen any like that. I'm not sure what you mean. I have seen many like that. Oh, many men like that. Pretend in the temple and different at home. So Timothy, I think also we're dealing with different cultures here. And in some cultures it's more prominent than other cultures. So Timothy he hasn't seen many men that way. Or any. What we were talking about at lunch, I think, addresses this situation. But I don't think a woman should tolerate being physically abused by a man, because if she does, he'll continue doing it. And it's bad for him, and it's bad for her, and it's bad for the children. So I know in some cultures they will just tolerate it, but I don't think it's healthy for the man. Some cultures, they tolerate it because the cultural norm is that if you leave your husband, you're considered an outcast, your family won't even take you back, and you'll never get married again, and you have no way of maintaining yourself, so you tolerate it. That's unfortunate. Oh, really, and wow, to Prabhupada cooking and serving and cleaning. Oh, yeah. So, what we're talking about today at lunch is that many of us have succeeded in certain aspects of our life at the cost of failing at others. So we call this succeeding by failing. So your example you're giving here is a person who may be successful as a so-called, or apparently successful as a pujari, but he's failing as a grihasta. So my point today was that you should not look at grihasta life as something that's not important to succeed at, but you should look at whatever you're doing, you should try to be successful. And certainly, you should try to be successful as grihasta. It's important. So, if a man is thinking it's not important and he treats his wife this way, he's misunderstood. That it's something like it's not really service or something. It has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. So that's wrong. So Vrindavan is saying, in Vrindavan it's very common among devotee couples, that the husband beats the wife? It's that the women tolerate, yeah. So, I think it may be a cultural thing, that in certain cultures that's more allowed, and so it's just continuing, and then the men, they don't adopt Krishna conscious culture enough to prevent it. and it's just, you know, how it's been in their culture. Or else they have anger issues and they're difficulty at controlling themselves, and they feel they have the right to do it because they're the husband and the controller, and they didn't read all these verses about honoring women. So Manu Samhita is saying you honor women. So, and Prabhupada in the Bhagavatam quotes that women are honored and Brahmins are honored and cows are honored and the elderly are honored and children are honored. They're protected. Protected, honored, you know, similar idea. So that's culture. So a man beating a wife, that means there's no culture. It's complete without culture, entirely. So a lot of people come to Krishna consciousness without culture. Or as they say in Australia, the only culture is in yogurt. So, you know, that is not culture. That's not culture, that's the mode of ignorance. And it's a difficult situation for women, but as far as possible, a woman should not tolerate it. And she should do whatever she can to get her husband to stop it. Whether it's getting a senior devotee to intervene, the police to intervene, getting him locked up, whatever she has to do. It's just not tolerable. And Prabhupada would not be happy with him for doing that. And then you know, you're allowing him to continue. It's not good. Yeah. I mean, you know, the thing is, for a man's a devotee and he's beating his wife. It's like that. There was a conversation. This reporter said to Prabhupada, he said, "What about the bad gurus?" Prabhupada said, "What do you mean, bad gurus?" You know, the man said, "You know, the gurus who cheat or this or that, or, you know, you're bona fide, you're a real guru, you're a good guru." And Prabhupada said, if they're bad, then they're not gurus. So it's just like this we call in English oxymoron, paradox. A devotee beating his wife. Do devotees beat their wives? That's like, right? The devotee husband beats his wife. No, that doesn't, the devotee husbands don't beat their wives. I haven't found the verse that authorizes it yet. Gentlemen, if I find the verse that authorizes it, you're okay, then you can beat your wife, and there's no problem. You can be a devotee and beat your wife. But I haven't found the verse. We did find the verse just a minute ago, which says they should be honored and respected. That's the verse we found. So, devotees beating their wife. No, devotees don't beat their wives. That's like Prabhupada said, if you're envious, you're not a devotee, because devotees are not envious. You know? So Mahatma Prabhu, what do you say about devotees, husbands who beat their wives? And I said, devotee husbands don't, I have nothing to say, because devotee husbands don't beat their wives. They're not devotees. No, but they're Brahmins, they're on the altar, they're doing puja. No, they're not devotees. It's like, we had this class and we're talking about blasphemy. He said, you know, some devotees are so critical and blasphemous, but they're still going on in their devotional service. And he said, no, that's just external. They're not devotees. Devotees don't blaspheme. They're not making advancement. The other problem, ladies, is if you allow your men to do that, it's not good for their spiritual life, and they're going to suffer terrible reactions. Yeah, so now we're talking about physical abuse and then abusive words. Abusive words more than physical, but the thing is, it's their problem. But, yeah, abusive words are just as bad, or worse. Okay, but devotees don't use abusive words. The temple, there are good devotees, but they do not take care of their family. Wife does the earning. Wives just tolerate because of kids, yeah. What could be the explanation for people or devotees ending up in a situation, karma? If so, why isn't the karma of their consciousness being cleansed? This is a difficult question to ask. I mean, to answer. Difficult to ask, more difficult to answer. Because you think, well, isn't it just karma? Maybe this woman was a man and abused her husband. But the point is, it's really bad to look at things that way, because then that way you justify anything. Right? Well, you must just have really bad karma to get a husband like me. Stop yelling at me. That's just your bad karma. You have a husband like me. Don't tell me to stop yelling at you. You can't think that way, because the way we're supposed to think is, what is the dharma of a husband? What is the dharma of a devotee? How are we supposed to act? That's how we're supposed to think, right? We're supposed to think in terms of what is proper action. That's all. Not like, you deserve, I'm not acting properly, that's okay, but you deserve it, otherwise you wouldn't have married me. You can't think like that. It's like abusing a child and thinking, well, I guess that child must have been an abusive parent in their last life, and they got me as their father, and I'm abusing. That's like madness. So, there's a couple things going on here. I think one of the things is that men, if they abuse verbally, they think it's okay. I mean, obviously, they're not self-disciplined people and they have personal problems, but aside from that, they think it's okay. Right? Otherwise, why wouldn't they stop? Somehow or other, they've read Prabhupada's books. And somehow they haven't understood that point. How to deal with women properly. Now, Timothy's saying, well, the women should learn Kung Fu. It's like, what's the world coming to? You're supposed to learn Kung Fu, so when you're walking down a dark alley at night, you can beat the guy up who's trying to molest you. Now we have to learn Kung Fu to beat up our husbands when he attacks me. What's the world coming to? And these are supposed to be devotee husbands? It's not good. Well, then the women, they'll learn karate, and then on the wedding day they'll say, I just want to let you know I know karate. So, if you're not good, you know what's going to happen. Don't tell him that too many days before the wedding. He might not want to marry you. Okay, ladies, here's a problem. There's an interesting problem. In the brahmachari ashram, the men are not trained to be husbands. They're trained to be brahmacharis, who should not marry. And in some way, subtly, if not overtly, they hear demeaning things about women. So when they get married, some of those men who are a little insensitive feel they have a right to demean women, because they heard that as brahmacharis. And they never heard how to be a husband. And they never heard the verse of honor the woman. They never heard the verse that all the gods reside in the home where women are respected. And then they look externally at the Hare Krishna movement, and externally, I hate to say this, but externally it doesn't always look like women are respected that much. So it just kind of feeds into that mentality. Right? So, I mean, things are better than they were, but sometimes it may seem that way, that they're not well respected. Yeah. Rajasundari is saying, oh my God. Avani says she has a friend who calls her husband Rakshasa. Ladies, if I had a Rakshasa for a husband, I'd report him to my guru. I'd report him to his guru, and I'd ask his guru to screw his head on properly. So Brajasundari, but then the Rakshasa will he said, why did you tell my guru? It's just, you can't win. So Brajasundari has the answer. There should be a marriage course for 3 months, like the Muslims for our society. Mahatma Prabhu, what do you say? I say yes. I'm giving my first marriage course. in 3 weeks, but it's only 2 days long, but it's a start. Now, Timothy, what's a Rakshasa? Rakshasa is a man who eats human beings. That's the actual definition. But more than a demon. The demon means without God. Rakshasa is a demon on steroids. It's much more than a demon. Demon just means you're against God. Rakshasas are like Ravana and others, cannibal. Worse than a cannibal. But so I believe there are many good men who joined ISKCON, and they got somewhat, what should we say? Yeah, the UK, they have nice courses for couples. They got somewhat confused by their brahmachari training, and it had an ill effect on their ability to be good husbands. Some men. That's just, I think, what's happening. They've misunderstood the philosophy, and they didn't get proper guidance. And so, if you ever want to get married, if you're not, tell your husband to take my course, and we'll certify them as a bona fide husband. And if they're not certified by me as a bona fide husband, then don't marry them. The last good man, finish with you. There's a few good men out there. Haven't seen them, but I know they're out there. No, I'm only kidding. They are out there. But it's true. It's a subtle point and problem that you bring men in and train them as brahmacharis and train them in the value of being brahmachari, but you do it in a way that makes them unprepared for being grihastas, and that's not good. Hare Krishna. You think I'm a good man? I don't know. Ask my wife. Sometimes I'm good. You should have seen me when I was 25. Oh my God. No, I was still good. Not so good, but I'm better now. When men are younger, their egos are bigger. They don't like listening to women. Because the brahmachari is trained, if you listen to a woman, you're weak. You're just being controlled by her. So that's why these rough, tough guys just want to, they want to, sometimes it's not for all of them, but sometimes it's just like they're insecure, and if they can boss their wife around, then they're reassuring themselves that they're in control of the house, because that's what they learned as a brahmachari, right? If you got to be in control. Who wears the pants in the house, right? So you got to be in control, so that your husband controls you to remind himself that he's rough and tough. Because if he does what you say and he's nice, he's not rough and tough, and he's a failure in the eyes of his fellow brahmachari god brothers. I was always nice, Vallabhi. There's nice, nicer, and nicest. So we keep getting nicer. Anyway, this is like the dirty laundry of ISKCON, abusive husbands. Like it's such a paradox. How is it possible to have abusive husband, whether it's physical or emotional, in a spiritual movement? It doesn't make any sense, does it? In a movement which is based on God's compassion for the fallen souls. It doesn't make any sense at all. How people have come to that, it's all unhealthy psychology and insecure men who need to feel powerful and are too proud to be just nice. Yes, Brajasundari is nicer. Because you have such a nice name, you must be nicer. With a name like that, you must be nice. Brajasundari. Brajasundari, you want to know what your name is in Bengali? It's Brajo Sundari. Brajo Sundari. Brajo Sundari. Yes. Very nice language. Very sweet. Bishramba. Vishwambar Das. Vishwambar Das. Brajo Sundari and Vishwambar Das. Vishwambar Das says, my name is nicer. Both nice. Both names nice. Vishwambar Das and Brajo Sundari, Devi Doshi. Both nice. Both very nice. I'm liking too much those names. Too much sweetness in those names. Madhurya. So, Timothy says, I think it's because most men got into marriage thinking they failed. Thankfully you're teaching and helping devotees. Common sense, yeah. Well, you know, you're a brahmachari and you fail, so you get married. And your ego is like still on steroids, so you're like, you gotta control somebody. Couldn't control your senses, at least control your wife, you know. Gotta have some status out there with your buddies, your men, you know, otherwise you'll be the laughing stock, you know. Look at him, he's taking out the trash, that poor guy. It's a dancing dog in the hands of his wife, you know. That's like the greatest nightmare for the brahmachari, to become the dancing dog in the hands of his wife. Right? Yes? That would be like the downfall. But that's actually, in a sense, it's glorious that you would take that position. You're servant, your wife is servant, you help, you serve together. Guru is a servant of the disciple. If Guru is a servant of the disciple, a husband can serve his wife. What's the problem? Yes.
Brahmachari has to be trained also prepared for grihastha, or it's like a paradox.
Asaf says a brahmachari should be trained to be a grihastha. Yeah, it is a paradox. One of the biggest mistakes of the Hare Krishna movement has ever made is to get these men in the wrong consciousness. It's almost like you're setting them up to fail in the brahmachari ashram, in the grihastha ashram. So this whole point is very important. Get this, ladies, get this through your husband's thick skull. The grihastha ashram should be successful as householders. Prabhupada wrote me a letter, you can tell them. When I was the ripe age of 24, wanting to take sannyas because I was completely frustrated, grihastha, and out of disgust was wanting to renounce, I wrote Prabhupada a letter and said, can I take sannyas? And Prabhupada said, first become an ideal grihastha, then we talk about sannyas. So, you know, you do this right, do it right, be successful. If you can be successful at this, you'll be successful at the next ashram. If you fail at this ashram, you'll fail at the next ashram. So, yes, gentlemen, sometimes your wife will say something that upsets you. Sometimes she'll do something that upsets you, but that doesn't give you the right to be upset. Just because it's upsetting, you don't have the right to be upset. You're upset because you're not sense-controlled. She can do upsetting things, but it doesn't mean you become upset. That's because you're not sense-controlled, you become upset. So you don't have she has a right to be upsetting, but you don't have the right to be upset. That's the right idea. I mean, unless, you know, like we say, if there's a good reason to be upset, then be upset. But if you don't have a good reason, then don't be upset. So, yes. Any questions?
So the lady has the right to be
Upsetting?
Uncontrolled in her senses.
Well, Asaf's asking, does a lady have a right to be uncontrolled in her senses? Well, I can tell you this. I can tell you something. Vishwambar Das says, Bhambar, Bish Bhambar Dash. Shesh. I live in Bengal, like, what could you expect, you know? Yeah, linear ashrams, go through all of them. When someone says something, do not take it personally. Yeah. Very good point. And what was the point you were making? Oh yeah, about
women, ladies,
are they always right?
they have the right to be uncontrolled.
Do ladies have the right to be uncontrolled? Well, they have the right to be ladies. They don't have the right to be uncontrolled. Bengali. Madash is Bengali. Bengali Baba. So, I know I'm in the wrong profession. I should have been a comedian. You know, it's like this guru stuff. I don't know, but comedian, yeah. So, one time, a sannyasi or someone had fallen down, which is the politically correct word in ISKCON for having sex outside of wedlock, with a brahmacharini. And so the message came to Prabhupada, and then there was this question of like, whose fault was it and who should be blamed? And Prabhupada said, it's not the woman's fault, it's always the man's fault, because the man is supposed to be the one who has this high level of intelligence, and he's supposed to be the one who protects women. So Prabhupada, and she said, the woman is weaker by nature, so naturally the man will overpower her. I love you, you're so beautiful, I just want to marry you. And so the woman will go, okay, and she'll do it. That's her nature, to have that trust. So Prabhupada said, it's the man's fault. So in a sense, a woman, see, the whole idea is, why should women be married? Because in theory the men are stronger, and if a woman has a good husband, then she remains strong. But by her nature, she's weaker, and the man is more self-controlled, disciplined, determined. He has that nature. They did a study, and they said when women, if they take on the same job as a man, they'll experience 4 times more stress than the man will. They can't handle the same stress levels as men. They're just different. So Prabhupada's saying the man by nature, he's stronger, he can provide, he can take care, he has, his intelligence can function without emotion. Woman's intelligence can't function without emotion. No, man's intelligence can function in a vacuum. So he can provide this guidance. He can make up for certain areas where the woman's weak. So that's why women should be married. So he never blames a woman, he always blames the man. So does that mean that women can be uncontrolled? Well, according to our philosophy, no. But it means that the man will generally be a little more controlled. And if she's a little less controlled, then that's just normal. We all have our nature, but it's not like she's uncontrolled in a way that's not Krishna conscious. If men, so they're talking about men blaming women, but that's all, if a man's blaming a woman, that's just man's weakness. He has a need to blame women. There's something, insecure about him. It makes him feel good if he blames women or something. He's just, he's not, there's something lacking in his heart. There's this affection, this compassion, this understanding. It's all lacking. And he's just, why would you blame women? What did they do to you? It's a sexual attachment and an aversion. So anyone who understands these things, when a man is overly abusive, this and that, they just understand he's frustrated. Most likely sexually frustrated and out of control. He thinks he's being tough and strong and controlling, whatever. But other people understand, no. He's totally out of control. So in a very healthy atmosphere, men are, they're sober, and then they'll respect women because they're, there's not this attachment and aversion. So that should be respected. It's no problem. No problem at all. But when there's aversion, then you have problems. When there's attraction, there's aversion. So it's just At least we have to understand these things.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
From the Mahabharata and all the stories, we know that it was legitimate, let's say, legitimate.
Legitimate?
Yeah.
From Mahabharata, we know it's legitimate.
That man can have more than one wife.
Right.
So is this Vedic or
Yeah.
conscious?
So Amir is asking, is it Krishna conscious for a man to have more than one wife? Yeah. The idea was, the way Prabhupada explained it, is that generally in society there are more... Well, in Vedic society, a lot of men didn't get married because you had this sadhu culture. And boys were... The higher class boys were trained as brahmacharis. So because they're trained as brahmacharis... Can you close that? Thank you. We have the heat on and the window open. It's a paradox. Yeah. Because they were trained as brahmacharis, it was part of the culture. You'd have a higher percentage of men than in a normal society not marrying, because you have that sadhu culture. And perhaps there's always more women than men, I don't know. But anyway, Prabhupada's making the point that there's more women to be married than there are men to marry them. So that was one of the reasons it was allowed, so that women could, well, you have 6 women and 5 men, how are you going to get 6 women married unless one marries 2? So something like that. And then on the other side, Prabhupada said that men, their nature is to enjoy women. So they're never satisfied with one. They want the whole harem. So if he had the money, he would provide a house for each one and give children. This is like more of a material consideration, And then, he's enjoying sex, he's enjoying with so many women, wow. But, so, what man would want to have many wives unless he wanted to enjoy with them? Because it's a big responsibility, it's a lot of work. So, Krishna endows the men with this desire to enjoy, but he knows his responsibility. If he's going to enjoy, he has to maintain and protect. That's payment. And in that culture, the women were okay with that, because they all had their own homes, and their own kids and servants, and, Our culture, it's a little difficult. So Prabhupada at one point allowed it. He said it's okay for that reason, but it didn't work. And then, when devotees told Prabhupada it's illegal, and then Prabhupada said we can't do it. But on principle, he wasn't against it, if it could work.
So in Islam, they say you can be justice towards the woman, so you can have 4.
Yeah. I think it's traditional in many cultures. So, what's better? Being the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th wife of a wealthy man who gives you children and your own home, takes care of you, or being a widow and never marrying? So, they'd rather be married. Or being married to one bad man is worse than being married to a good man who has many wives. So it can work. I don't know if it will work today, but that was the idea. Yeah, so, Prabhupada wasn't against it because it's a Vedic principle. But it's illegal, so he couldn't promote it. So philosophically, it's accepted. Vedic culture, it's so different than our culture that some things are difficult, it's just hard for us to grasp. They had prostitution in Vedic culture. It was legal. And Prabhupada said, because you're always going to have men in society who are going to need to cheat on their wives. So rather than spoil virgin girls, they were prostitutes. So that would keep the streets clean, so to speak, keep the society clean, and there was a place to do it. It's kind of like in the airport, there's a room to smoke, so the smoke doesn't go everywhere, it's just in that one room. So from our perspective, that seems weird, but when you look at it that way, You know, there was very little illicit connection going on between unmarried man and woman, because there were the legal way to do it, the respectable way to do it was just go to the woman who does it as a business. And you'd even find in Vedic culture some of those female prostitutes, somehow or other, they ended up in that profession and they were devotees, which is, that really doesn't make sense. But it was just, you know, it was an accepted profession, right, apparently. What do you think of that out there on Mayapur TV? That's certainly not politically correct, but it does have a positive side to it. I don't think it was like it is today, like prostitution is today. It was just kind of normal. Timothy says weird. Think about it. It's more weird the way it is today. You know, 17-year-old girls getting pregnant is more weird, more troublesome. You know, rather than 10,000 girls having sex, you just have 100. And they're, you know, that's what they do. And they protect all the other women. It's weird. It sounds weird to us, but the alternative is more weird. So, any other questions? Arguments? Doubts?
Did Prabhupada say, I think I heard once, that women are less intelligent or something like that?
He did say, well, he didn't say, Shastra said, but then you have to define what less intelligent means. It didn't mean that they're not smart. It means that intelligence is defined as the ability to discriminate matter from spirit. So men's ability to discriminate matter from spirit is stronger. Men's intelligence works distinct from his emotions. A woman's intelligence always works in conjunction with her emotion, so it can't be pure as his. But it doesn't mean you're not better at science necessarily than your husband, or better at math than some other men. That doesn't refer to that. The way I've always understood it, having been married and observing the differences between my wife and I, and women in general, is that her natural, you know, like, you may not know this, but I'm a bona fide slob, and if it wasn't for her, you would know I'm a bona fide slob. I don't care how I dress. I don't even, my brain is dead about how I dress. You know, I can look like, you know, you know, there was a study done, and how long a couple was married before the woman went crazy and had to start dressing her husband because she couldn't tolerate the way he dressed. And it was like, you know, at a point of like 3-4 years, the woman just said, okay, that's it. This is how you're going to dress. So that's the way men, not all men are like that, but many men are like that. It's not high on their priority, so their brain doesn't, you know, it's like, don't you realize what you're wearing doesn't match? Oh, really? Purple and orange don't match? Oh, okay. What should I wear? You know, like that, you know. Yeah, so it's common.
Maybe it's a style.
And like, for example, you know, if, for example, men can do austerity much more easily than women. So husbands, don't put your wives through austerity. They don't like austerity. Women, you know, men are traveling, whatever, you just get this hotel, you know. It's the Roach Holder Hotel. Why is it called the Roach Holder? Because it's full of cockroaches. You know? The women are like, I'm not going to stay there. No, and the man's like, but it's a really good price, you know, and just we'll pretend the cockroaches aren't there, you know. I bought you blindfolds, you know, so I'll blindfold you before you go in the room. You know, that's the difference between men and women. And the woman's like, I'm not going to stay in this place. This is crazy, you know. So, what did Guru used to say? It only took you a week before you went crazy the way your husband dressed. Well, go out and ladies, don't marry a Bengali villager, because their dress style is hilarious. It's the funniest thing. I can't figure it out. It's like it could be the latest style, you know, to go crazy in Hollywood. But until it does, it's hilarious. These super ugly shirts with all these super ugly colors, you know, like black or red and turquoise. Striped shirt, and then a sweater which is 3 other colors with the completely different design that doesn't match, with these jeans that are supposed to be fashionable that look like, you know, if you sold them in America, you know, there'd be a riot out in front of the store. And they're walking around, and then some weird hat that doesn't match anything. It doesn't fit. And nobody would find themselves dead wearing a hat like that. And that's Indian style. It's just, you know, you marry one of those Bengali villagers, you've got a lot of work to do. So, you know, women are very conscious how they look. They're very, you know, the men get into the home, right? And the women want to paint it nice and put nice things up, and the men are like, oh, really? You want to do that? Oh, why? Why do you want to do that? Isn't it fine the way it is? Krishna consciousness is austerity. You know, why waste money like on furniture? That's like, you know, just sleep on a mat on the floor. What's wrong with you? So, a smart man understands women can't do austerity, and women need nice aesthetics. Things have to look beautiful. There's many men that are like that, but in general, more so women. So that's the idea. I mean, that's one of the ideas. You just see, there's, you know, does that mean, you know, they're saying, does that mean we're not as smart as men? That sounds like we're smarter. It just means, you know, when you're looking at it, the differences, you know, men are more austere, men are less attached, you know, to bodily things. They have this ability to discriminate because their emotions don't affect their intelligence. So that's what Prabhupada means. Yeah, women do austerity also. There's no question. But it's easier for men, generally, to do austerity than for women. It's just differences, you know. So, to understand I'm not the body, to detach from those things is easier for men. You know, 20-year-old men are taking sannyas. You know, how many 20-year-old women want to take sannyas? When a woman's 20, she's just thinking, you know, which brahmachari I want to marry. And a man's 20, he's thinking you know, how I want to remain single my whole life. And he's thinking of which brahmacharini not to get near, because she's attractive and I don't want to get married. And that brahmacharini is thinking, how can I get near him to attract him, because I want to get married. It's just difference, right? So that kind of, you know, so men have that, you know, not that they're all successful, but they have that kind of intelligence that we should be renounced, we should do these things. And the woman, you know, she's up there at Mangalartik, she's in the temple, but, you know, she's 22 and she's thinking, when am I going to get married? It's a different kind of intelligence, right? It's not that she can't understand Shastra, but it's just, you know, those kinds of things in terms of renunciation, it's not her nature. So they say she's less intelligent. It means more bodily conscious, like that. Less inclined to austerity. Can't use the intelligence in a vacuum, but it's not that she doesn't understand Krishna consciousness, can't give a great class, can't help other people, doesn't understand the goal of life. It's just she's dealing with that other side of her. Then you'll see women when they're like 60, 70, they're over that and they're just like men. They talk like them, they look like them, they live like them, you know. I saw a picture, it was a women's retreat, and all the women were my age or older, and I was like, they practically look like men. So that means that their whole physiology and mentality is becoming a little more male-like at that age. They're more renounced. They're dressing simple, they don't care, you know. So, I have to go, because we have a program tonight. And they're calling me right now.